Hey, Internet! It's Paul, it's Matt, the Dork Lords. We are here talking about Nightflyers, Season 1, Episodes 7 and 8, Transmission and Rebirth.
Yes.
All right. So, it's been a little while. We had the Christmas break and whatever. We got off the bandwagon of covering these, but we're back to finish off 7 and 8 and then 9 and 10. Mm-hmm. So, basically, there's a few storylines happening at the same time.
Sure.
In these two episodes, you've got Tess. So one of the things about episode 7 is that it jumps forward 8 months in time. So episode 6 ends, 8 months go by, then we get episode 7. I think that's to good effect. In some ways, we get a little sense of like, oh, relationships have been formed and life has changed somewhat on the ship instead of just we see them the very next second of their day. So I appreciate the fact that they jumped ahead. So we've got Tessia, Bee Lady, and Rowan have gotten a relationship, and she's very pregnant. And in fact, throughout the course of these two episodes, the baby dies. And the baby has some kind of contagion that they have to seal Tessia and Eris and a doctor who's not long for this world off to avoid spreading the contagion on the ship. And in a very tense scene at the end of episode 8, they make the decision to decontaminate that chamber, meaning killing all life in it, including Tessia. I think the doctor was already dead.
Yep.
But we find out as a result of that Roy Eris, the captain, who was a hologram, then was real, is in fact a robot.
It might be an android.
Okay, good point. I say robot just because mechanical parts, but yeah, maybe android.
We saw mechanical parts?
Well, he had his eyes. I think he had like genetic material for his eyes, and so that got burned away.
Right.
And so now it's just like,
right.
I have mechanical things.
Well, you don't know how mechanical it is.
Okay. All right. Good point. So what's your difference between an android and a robot?
An android, I think, attempts to have a number of materials that seem human, but they're not human. So no genetic material, but something that like works like. But I think robots are like, oh, look at that. It's just a bunch of like, steel rods moving things around.
Instead of like maybe organs or something like that.
Right.
Okay.
Like, for instance, initially in Westworld, they had these robots, but now...
Right, now they're like anatomy, like you couldn't tell them apart. Yeah.
Well, you have to look at them really closely to see.
Yeah, they got the white thing on the top in the head, but
right.
But their internal guts are similar. So would, like, say, Data from Star Trek, would he be a robot or an android?
They call him an android.
They do call him an android. But
and I feel like... I actually don't know.
Kind of boop,
he does, doesn't he? Yeah, he's got those little things. By my definition, I guess I'd call him a robot, but they call him an android,
Maybe the idea is that an android is a more developed robot that is more sentient, maybe, or more capable of... In which case, Roy would be an android in that definition.
I guess, yeah. Except I wonder if it's... to the extent that he's remote or anything,
Yeah, okay.
I wonder. I mean, it does seem like he's in the body, but one thing that, it doesn't even deal with it in the course of this episode, so I think we could talk about it now, where it's like, why didn't his mother do that?
Right, in other words, why did his mom not take her consciousness and put it into a body, as opposed to relying on it being stuck in the ship?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe she just was like, I love this ship. I want to be ship woman. I don't. But yeah, it's a good point. Like, the technology obviously was there because she, did it with her. So do we think Cynthia created the robot of Eris before she died?
That's a good question.
So in other words, maybe Roy died before his mom did. Perhaps, I don't know. And then the robot Roy put her into the ship. I'm not sure of the timeline of events there.
We don't know if it's like.
But it's a good question.
I don't know what to do. Oh, I'll put myself in the ship, and then afterwards he was like, wouldn't it be better if you had a robot. And so he made a robot, and he put himself into that, or, android or whatever.
Oh, good point.
So,
Like maybe he made the choice himself. He wasn't dead. He was like, I'll just transfer myself into a robot. That way I can live forever like my mama.
We don't know.
Now, on that point, though, so because Mom, Cynthia, didn't put herself into a robot, she's come up with a far more complex plan to get a body, and that's through Lami. So in this 8 months since episode 6, Lami has created these little she retreats to the virtual world. So she's got this little diner. We knew from episode 6, I think, that there was a diner she used to go to get hot dogs all the time with her mom. So she recreates that in the virtual world. Hey, look, I'll go and be with my fake family and enjoy life. You can understand that. I get the idea.
Sure.
Although, knowing what's out there lurking, it seems a little dangerous to do that. But
well, she thought she'd fixed it.
she thought she'd fixed it.
So he's like, oh, the bad part of her is stuck in a box.
That's right. I just
the
left
good
the little
part,
kid
the
out.
innocent part is
Yes.
just skipping around.
All right, well, the innocent part is not so innocent.
No.
And by the end of episode 8, Lami, I think it's pretty obvious. It's not explicitly stated, but I think the strong implication is that Cynthia, little girl Cynthia, locked Lami in the virtual world and has now uploaded her consciousness into Lami. And so we see Lami wake up, but Lami's not Lami.
No.
So I think I made this prediction that would probably happen. It's happened, I think. So we'll see, I think, Cynthia in the body of Lami walking around doing horrible things.
I wonder if Cynthia heard, I want to call him Fozzie, but that's not his name. Her boyfriend. Augie.
Fozzie Bear was on there. He was he and Ralph.
Waka waka.
Yeah.
If Augie, if he knew, I almost said Ozzy. If Augie, if she was actually hearing what he said, I wonder, because it was just before she did the switch.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, because that's a good point. I think we'll see Augie and Lami, have a relationship.
Yeah, probably.
Probably kiss each other, whatever. But because he was, lamenting the fact, it's like, oh, if you're real, then it'd be great. So she's now real.
Yes.
So there'll be a
and I will
moment there.
follow your instructions.
Since it's a horror show, maybe Lami never gets out. But I have a feeling Lami will find a way.
She's still alive, so
she'll find a way to.
She didn't kill her.
Or maybe Lami does the Cynthia thing and takes over the ship in some way to help the ship out. I don't know. I feel like Lami still has a part to play to aid the crew in some way in these last 2 episodes.
I guess. I mean, she doesn't have the benefit of having a separate entity outside of the place where she's imprisoned.
Correct.
So the way that Lami designed that area, it's supposed to keep you locked up. So
yeah. Although she designed it, so maybe she knows the best way to fight it. I don't know. I'm just saying. I feel like
it didn't seem like she thought so.
I feel like there's some part for her to play. I'll put it that way. Some part for Lami's consciousness.
I would agree
to play,
right? Because it went from the we're locking you into a room with with
the horrible dad,
to she's not with him at the moment or whatever, and she's just sort of like
Yeah. So that was another storyline that happened. We've also got the storyline of Carl still attempting to contact the Volcran, and we see him like test 72, test 79.
Yeah. And
he decides to hook up we'll call it the holodeck.
Sure.
The little, whatever.
Holosphere.
And he keeps trying these tests. He tests. Eventually, he does what he thinks is a successful test. And in that test, he is talking to his daughter, Sky.
Who he thinks is his daughter.
He thinks it is his daughter from another dimension in which his daughter didn't die.
Correct.
And so, if that's true, then that would be cool.
Mel is suspicious.
Yes, as most people would be.
Yes.
It's a holodeck after all.
Yes.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And it's kind of wish fulfillment on his part. And you probably want your daughter to be alive. Look, there she is. Wow, surprise, surprise. So there is some question as to whether or not it's real or not. I think probably in the context of this show, it's probably real. He's probably talking to a different dimensional version of his daughter.
Could be.
But
one thing that was frustrating for me was he would be like, I've got this, Rowan, I've got this way. He's like, all right, look, I'm with my girlfriend here, and that's why Mel was running around. I think everybody's distracted.
Yes.
He'd be like, Rowan, come. And so he was like, I'll be on my way. And then they cut. And then next thing you know, he'd be like, oh, Rowan. And he'd be someplace else. Like, did you come right away or not? What had happened? Why didn't you have a conversation like, look at what I've done? So it looks like the third time he goes down there, he's like, what the f have you done?
You're right. There's a series of, I need you right away. This is really important for the mission. Yeah, whatever. And then Rowan gets angry when he sees, like, what have you been doing here? Like, well, you had all this time to come and put your 2 cents in. But yes, the idea that over the 8 months, the crew has lost its way in terms of the real point of their mission. It seems like at least some of them have kind of, but not Carl.
No.
But a lot of other folks. And Mel is still kind of on task. So the other thing is you've got Thale and Agatha. Agatha is confirmed she's they're calling her an L3. So I guess like an L1 is like the most powerful telepath, and L3 is a little bit lower. But in this 8 months, they've gotten very close to the Volcran ship. And as they get closer, these telepaths, Thale and Agatha, their powers are increasing. And there's supposedly a correlation to the fact that the waves being put off by the Volcran are increasing their abilities to kind of dangerous levels. So she's closer to like an L2 now, and he's like super powerful guy, I guess.
Except super tortured as well.
Super tortured, and they can't actually be in the same room together because their powers, it's like like poles opposite. Probably one of the more interesting concepts put out in these 2 episodes was right in the beginning of episode 7, which is Thale in his 8 months has become a buddy with the crew, which was obviously a concern.
Members of the crew.
Right.
Perhaps not with the whole crew.
Oh, not the whole crew. Okay, so certain a sizable bunch of them, because he was hated and they wanted to kill him.
Yep.
And they kind of turned back to that a little bit now. But for a while there, he was still in good graces. And the way he got into good graces is he would basically play games with them he was the game master. So for instance, we see a thing where they are playing Russian roulette. And he's controlling the reality of it. And, Murphy didn't kill himself. I mean, he's the guy that's the guy who always gets hurt and all these things. He didn't lose in the imaginary game of Russian roulette, but one of his crewmates does, and we see it's all just a memory exercise or a dreamscape, a hallucination, a mass hallucination that Thale has put onto the crew at their request. And they're even getting, it seems like, addicted to it a little bit. The crewman who shot herself's like, I want to go again. It's like, you peed your pants. So that was, I kind of enjoyed that notion of like,
it's an interesting adaptation on the social ramifications of having someone who has psychic powers.
Right. So how would that relationship, how would they blend in that situation?
It's like they initially set the person up as being very dangerous. And they've apparently managed it in a way where now he can interact with them, but it's not even for long, because once they seem to feel it's the result of the spores that have started an infection of the baby, but they've come to feel like, okay, that's having an effect. But yes, they're also getting closer to the ship, so.
And Agatha tells him maybe he should do more, healthier ways to bond with the crew. And he's like, look, they like it. Shut up. And he is asked to. This is back before the baby is stillborn. Tessia asks him to like do a reading on my kid. So he's like, all right. And you can tell he's like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah,
he's
no,
like,
he's probably started to get that.
He says, oh, it's like the bees. There's a lot of voices. So the lot of voices are, I guess, the parasites is my guess. Because he also read the back in the tapeworm or whatever, so he can read parasites.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, man, a lot of voices, and I gotta go. Like he doesn't want to tell her the bad news. Anyway, for whatever reason, maybe he's afraid that they'll just get mad at him and not believe him, or he just would rather be
not involved,
friend guy, and not. I don't know what. But yeah, he more or less he foresees the baby's.
He does
demise.
Apologize. He's like, which perhaps he is apologizing for the fact that the baby's going to die.
Yeah. So those are the major beats. So as we end episode 8, you've got a robotic, mechanical in some way, Roy Eris, the captain.
Yeah.
You've got Cynthia is in the body of Lamy. Thale and Agatha was trying to go talk to Thale. When she got in the room, she had a big moment, and Carl came and saved her. She's worried that now that she's going to be outed as a telepath, that she's going to be confined, and I thought she had this kind of a worry, and Carl's like that. I'll never let that happen.
I think initially she was worried about that, but she didn't seem alarmed at all when Mel went to talk to her about it all.
Okay.
So It's not like he's keeping it to himself.
Gotcha. So that's kind of the extent of stuff, and we've got a newly very distraught Rowan.
Yes.
Which I assume is going to play into.
Well, you don't think he'll be able to handle it?
Since in episode 1 we saw Rowan walking around whistling, trying to kill Agatha. I think probably. No. I don't know. I mean, we see him unbalanced here, so perhaps that unbalancing. That's still a little far cry from walking around killing everybody, but maybe he blames the crew since she was. Killed off. Like, we made the decision to decontaminate her.
Right.
And so maybe that anger is what
could be
takes him out, and then because then we see Agatha kill herself.
Right.
So that's got to be coming up here. Well, doesn't have to be, but almost certainly is in the last 2 episodes. They're not going to save that for season 2, I don't think. So
probably not.
So we're going to see that scenario play out. I think also in that scene from episode 1. We saw that one of the domes, the dome with all the trees, had broken because the trees were flying out into space. So something pretty catastrophic is going to happen. That will. My guess at this point is, though, since we're so close to the end, I don't think it means everyone's dead. Like from watching that scene play out at the beginning of episode 1, I think it was unclear whether was Agatha the last person left on the ship because she's trying to send out the distress,
yes.
don't come here.
Yes.
There was that sense of I'm the last one, but I don't think she is.
No?
I feel like there's other people, because this ship is pretty big.
So, do you think there's other people that he's going to kill?
Right, like maybe he's trapped in this one area of the ship.
Will he be stopped?
Will he be, in other words, yeah. That's right, because he doesn't
My
die.
assumption
is that right? She attacks him, but I don't think he's dead.
Yeah, I think he's wounded.
Okay.
If I remember correctly.
All right.
Yeah, and, if he is stopped, then she's killing herself for another reason.
Right.
I think he's only wounded, and it's just a matter of time before he gets her. That's how I interpreted it anyway.
I got the idea, too, that she's killing herself because...
I need to watch it again.
Watch it again? Nice job, sir. She was killing her... Yeah, the implication was she was killing herself... Because, although she had kind of dealt with the threat, at least temporarily. But maybe, she was like, he's going to kill me, so I'll kill myself. I mean, maybe you could read it as, now that we know she's a telepath, maybe the ship is
trying to get people to kill her.
Yeah, I don't know.
So it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Or
she decides to do herself in. But it is interesting that she decides to eject that message, though. The message tells me that, if there was something like, for instance, if Carl is on another part of the ship, why not just go, hey, Carl, why don't you send a... Maybe she thinks Carl is so committed to the project and he wouldn't do something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I thought she was the last one. That's why I assumed that. But
I just feel like we're not going to
see
see everybody die here in like an episode. I mean, it just feels a little rushed.
Maybe they'll 2 days later.
Oh, good point. Okay, good point. Right. 7 years later. There's only me left. So, yeah. Anyway, there you go. Episode 7 and 8. Ooh. We'll be back to do the finale of that next week. But in the meantime, we'll be talking Counterpart. I've got a Lord of the Rings video that a viewer requested. So doing that. How about that? All right.
What was the viewer that requested it?
He's giving me like a. There's a guy named Adam. Anyway.
Adam.
Okay.
That's the guy.
Yep.
Thank you, Adam.
So, any other final thoughts on this,
No,
sir?
I have no final thoughts.
Okay, very good. Yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.